Hello friends, welcome to Joy of Life. So today we are going to discuss about an important topic called Bloom filter. It is one of the probabilistic data structure. But before we deep dive into what Bloom filter is, how it is implemented, where it is used, let's understand what it is trying to solve for us. So let's imagine a scenario wherein we have a registration service wherein you register some unique names, right? Like an email or something like that. So what you basically do is you send it a string, maybe 10 characters max allowed. So let's say you send it ABC and it needs to check, this service over here need to check that whether it is already exist or not, right? So it should filter out the duplicates basically, right? And in a naive scenario, how does it know that it's a duplicate or not? It should go and check in the database. It should make a call with ABC and see if it exists, and if not, it's going to store it, right? So the registration service does not have any way for checking that it already exists or not without going to the DB, right? When I say a DB, so DB has some additional overhead, right? There will be an IO operation, right? And it will cost me some time at least, right? Let's say a number 20 milliseconds, because this DB has a table, and what you are doing is you are comparing strings also, right? So you need to check. Another approach could be if I could cache it with me. Let's anticipate that we have 8 million users. Just a rough number, let's take. So if I store 8 million in a cache, in the worst case, we'll have 8 million users, right? And each having 10 characters. So that's also going to be quite costly. So a single char takes about 2 bytes, right? 20 bytes into 8 million. We'll end up storing about 160 million bytes, equivalent to close to around 160 MB, right? That's the storage that we are going to need to store this data, right? And also let's take some numbers over here to understand what is the volume of request we are talking about, right? Let's say 60k RPM, we are getting 60,000 requests per minute. Eventually means that we have 1k requests per second, right? And doing a DB operation is costly. Another problem is that, so since we are telling that we are going to deal with string, so what will happen is we have to have a comparison cost as well. So 10 characters would be compared, right? So there will be a cost. So in this kind of scenarios, Bloom filter comes pretty handy, and it helps us to identify whether we have the element already stored with us or not, right? So let's understand how it happens, right? So we are talking about 8 million users over here, right? So let's say I create a bit array of size 8 million. So bit is the smallest unit, so it will just store a 0 and a 1, right? Now you must be wondering that you just said that we cannot store 8 million data over here. But yeah, the difference is this was 20 bytes, right? And per entry, right? And for 8 millions, you are ending up with a 160 MB, right? Over here in an array of size 8 million, a bit array, my cost is going to be 8 million bits only. So what is the 8 million bit? How much memory it's going to cost us? 8 million bits is equivalent to 1 MB of storage, right? That's pretty less, many times lesser than what we have seen in the other scenario where we are spending 160 MB, right? It's 160 times lesser. We are just talking about approximately 1 MB, right? But how this is going to help us in storing it, and how do I know in bits? Because in a bit, what we know is we are going to store either a 1 or a 0, right? That's what a bit can hold. So how we are going to deal with this? So what happens in a Bloom filter is that we use the Bloom filter along with few of the hash functions, right? So let's take a bunch of hash functions and try to understand them. Let's say we have the 3 hash functions over here, and what we are trying to insert over here is user ID, which is, say, Mike. So what it will do basically is it will pass it through all the hash functions. This Mike will go through all the hash functions. And remember, these are different hash functions, right? And they will produce 3 different output for the input Mike, right? And then let's say these are the numbers that were produced. Now we know we have a bucket size of 8 million, right? So we are going to do a mod, and we are going to go to those locations and check what is the bit value stored over there. So for the simplicity of understanding, let's take some smaller numbers, and let's say that we have our bucket till, say, 20, right? So let's ignore this for the time being. So for the simplicity of understanding, let's assume this has produced a number 9, this has produced a number 13, and this has produced a number 2. So what it will do is this will go to the 9th index and check what is the value there. It will go to the 13th index and check what is the value there. And this guy will go straight to the 2nd index and check what is the value there, right? And 3 of them sees that the value is 0. So that means the mic is not over there. What it is going to do is it is going to insert mic. So mic is successful over here. So let's put a tick to mic, and we are going to update these 3 indexes to 1. And it produced number 9, 13 and 2, and we have changed those indexes, right? Say I get an input like Paul. And what I again do is I pass it through all my hash functions over here. So let's say Paul is passed to these 3 functions over here. And for the sake of simplicity, let's take some smaller number, and let's say this has produced a 2, this has produced a 5, and this has produced a 9. So you can see that 2 and 9 is also produced by mic, right? So what I'll do is it will go and check 2. It'll say, see that the value is already a 1, right? Then it will go to 5. The moment it comes to 5, it understands that this bit is a 0, and nobody with a hash from any of these hash functions ever got a value of 5, right? And that means Paul was never stored. So immediately it can say that Paul is safe to store and we don't have Paul. And we check 9 and it doesn't matter. 9 is also 1, but it doesn't matter because we know that 5 is a 0. The index 5 is a 0. Any of the index, if it results to a 0, that means that element is safe to store, right? So that's how a Bloom filter helps. So what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to go ahead and change the 5 to a 1, right? And I know that Paul is safe, and I have said that, okay, it's fine. So similarly for Ross, we got 3 other numbers. So let's say 18 and it says 11. So we go over to those indexes and we go over to the index 1 and we change those bits to 1. We say all of them are 0, so we just change them to 1. So now let's do it for Bob, and let's understand the scenario wherein we might get some different kind of result. So this over here, let's say this has produced a 1, 5 and 18. So now when this goes to 1, 5 and 18, though it's not there, but we see all the bits to be 1, right? But in this case, what we'll do is we are going to say that no, Bob is already with us, right? And we'll not allow Bob to store. Since I have mentioned previously that this is a probabilistic data structure, so we are going to respond with a yes or a no. And the question to us is, do you have this element, right? So this is the question asked to us. When we say a no, we don't have this element, right? We are 100% certain that the element is not with us, right? So you can see over here that when we got a 0, then only we are saying that, okay, this element is safe to go inside. And when we saw that 0, it meant that that bit was never touched. Means that hash value was never found, or we have not encountered a hash function which has produced that value, and we modded with the 7999 and we never got that value. We never touched that index, right? And when we say yes, we have this value, we say over here that possibly we have that value. We cannot guarantee it. So over here in case of Bob, so it is telling that possibly we have this value, it might not be. And as this bit array starts growing and we encounter more number of ones in this, so what will happen is your probability will start going down. You will start giving a false positive, right? So over here we saw that we said that we are already having Bob, right? So the probability will start going down as and when it fills up, right? So we have to maintain some buffers over here, like we can say that when 70% or 60% or whatever is like filled of this bit array that we have changed from 0 to 1, we are going to say that its probability is now going down, right? And since we are using multiple hash functions, that's providing the safe net for us, right? If it is only one hash function, it's difficult. It's 2 hash functions, again a little likely to conflict. With 3, it will the conflict ratio will go down, right? And more the number of hash functions you increase and more the bit array size you increase, what will happen? Your probability of this algorithm will stay higher, right? But that comes with a cost, right? Hashing also has some cost, right? So each of the hash that we are performing is also having some cost over here, right? So that is a trade-off that you need to make, you need to understand and do. Few of the features of this bloom filter, right, they are pretty interesting. Like, you should not ever change or try to remove a value that you have already put, right? Now if now you saw that 5 has been touched by multiple, right? Now if I remove it, I won't be able to guarantee any of the operations, right? If I change this back to 0, I don't know who all has operated on top of this, right? Only one guy has changed it, but many has performed operation on top of it, right? Secondly, a bloom filter can give me a false positive, right? That we have seen that in this case of Bob, we got a false positive, but it is guaranteed that we'll never have a false negative. And you got the point. Why? Because the moment we saw a 0 from these 3 index or 4 or 5 or n indexes, we know that that bucket has not been touched, right? Either one produces a 0 means we are fine. So it's a guarantee that we have. And you also saw that how efficiently it handles such a huge number of data that we have, right? So basically we have insert and lookup operation into a bloom filter, wherein we insert things as we have done and we try to look up if some value is present there or not. That is also again based on the hash function. So everything in a bloom filters works out of the hash function, right? So you should never change this function, never try to change the size of it, because if you change the size, again you will end up having different indexes, right? And I will leave a couple of links in the description below, wherein you can see the implementation of bloom filter. We have a lot of them in the web, so you can see that they have created some of the mini hash functions of themselves. So hash1, hash2, hash3, and hash4. They have 4 functions. So this is a lookup function where they're taking this bit array, and what they're doing is they're taking a string and checking. So with all these hash functions, they have generated the hash values, and they are checking on those indexes that what is the value over there, and if any of them is a 0, then it becomes a 0, right? If it's a C++ implementation, so if it is a false, and true, whatever, it will return a true, right? You could have written from here only directly, but anyways. And again, insertion also, they're doing the same thing. They're doing a lookup first, and then they're going and they're just changing the bit, right? I think this should be C. There is a typo over here. This will be bit array C, A, B, C, and D. And if you see over here, these are the elements they have tried inserting, right? They have 33 elements they have tried inserting, and sometimes what has happened is it produced some of the bluff is probably already present, right? You can see this, but if you see over here, there was no bluff, right? So it's saying that it's probably already present. It's not saying it's present, right? It's a probabilistic data structure, right? Again, nuke and gloomy, because as your number of inputs starts growing, your bloom filter's probability rate, as we have discussed, starts going down drastically, right? Because you have barely any zeros available, right? So whatever you give it, it will say that it's already been seen, right? So yeah, that is all from this video. That is all from this bloom filter topic. So do let me know if you have any questions. Please do drop them in the comment section below, and I'll definitely get back to this. So yeah, please share this with your friends, and please like and subscribe as well if you haven't done so. Support the channel for more such videos, and that's all from this video. Bye bye, and take care.